Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel Riddle and Rule. Today we're talking about something that will make your Dungeons & Dragons game run smoother, more fun, and be more immersive. We're going to cover how to be a better D&D player. And I'm not just talking about rolling great dice or pulling off some awesome moments in combat, though that is very fun too, but about being prepared, staying engaged, and helping move the story along. We've all been there. You're in the middle of an exciting encounter or this pivotal story moment, and suddenly everything screeches to a halt. A player forgot what their character can do, or they're scrambling to find their spell list. Someone's unsure how to react because they weren't paying attention. And look, it's not that people don't want to be engaged, but life gets busy. Sometimes it's hard to focus in the moment or stay prepared between sessions. Maybe you haven't looked at your character sheet since the last game, and that makes it harder to jump back into the action. When players aren't ready, the game slows down. The Dungeon Master is then left filling this dead air, trying to say some things to just fill up that space, and then the story loses its momentum, and the overall immersion into the story in the game falls apart. It's tough for everyone, and that's what we want to avoid. So how do we fix this? How do you as a player come to the table prepared and help keep the story moving? Here are 3 practical tips to become a better D&D player, and trust me, your DM and your group will thank you. Tip number 1, know your character. This is probably the single most important thing you can do before a game session. Take some time to review your character's abilities, spells if you have them, items, attacks, backstory, anything that is commonly used in your session. You don't have to memorize everything, but being familiar with your key abilities is going to save time and keep things moving. Even just becoming more familiar with where do I look to make these decisions in some form of organization or structure. Know how your main attacks work, what your spell slots are, what spells you're commonly going to choose, what actions can you take on your turn. The more that you understand these things and are quicker to pull the trigger on them, the less time you'll spend fumbling during combat or role-playing moments. So tip number 1, know your character. Tip number 2, be engaged in the story. When you're playing D&D, you're not just sitting at the table, you're in the world. That means paying attention even when it's not your turn. Follow what your other characters are doing, and think about how your character might react or contribute to what they are doing too. If you're constantly checking out, it's harder to jump back into the game. Plus you might miss important story elements or clues, so staying engaged not only helps you, but it also shows the Dungeon Master that you're invested, which makes for a much better game overall. Tip number 2, be engaged in the story. And tip number 3, think ahead of your turn. Lastly, we want you to be thinking ahead. While it's somebody else's turn, start planning yours. What are you going to do? Which spell, which attack, which feature are you likely to use? Do you need to move to a better position in the combat space? By the time it gets to you, you should have a solid idea already of what you want to do. Of course, things might change. That turn right before yours might be a significant adjustment, but having a plan will help speed things up. This really helps combat go more smoothly, especially in bigger groups. Your turn is going to feel more dynamic, and the game will have less downtime while people try to decide what to do. Everyone should get to act faster, and then the action stays more engaging. So, tip number 3, think ahead on your turn. Being prepared, being engaged, and thinking ahead isn't just about making the game easier for you. It makes the game more fun for everyone. It keeps the story flowing, it's going to reduce frustration, and it helps create those epic moments that we all love. So next time you're getting ready to play D&D, remember to know your character, stay engaged, and think ahead. You'll have a better experience, and so will your fellow players. Thank you for watching. If you found this helpful, be sure to subscribe, hit that bell down there so that you don't miss my next video, and until then, happy adventuring.